Mariya, I appreciate you for joining. I actually don't even remember how I came across your profile anymore. It's been so long since we were trying to schedule this. Maybe it was on TikTok, perhaps.
Yeah.
Do you do a lot of TikTok?
I honestly, like, I'm here and there. I'm bad with consistency. But when I'm in the flow of everything, then I grind a lot out at once. But sometimes the TikTok algorithm is like so annoying that I just get discouraged. So
I feel you on that. Do you do any YouTube?
no.
No, YouTube can make you really humble yourself because you can post the YouTube shorts, and sometimes you post and you can get like 17,000 views, and then like the very next day you post like similar content and you get like 3. It's like pretty wild. That's wild. So go ahead.
Go ahead. I was saying that's how I feel about TikTok though. I feel like I'll post something and it'll go viral, and then the next like 20 posts have like 300 views, and I'm like,
yeah. No, it's hard to gauge the algorithm. I went on like a 4-month streak trying to like work it and like researching and like the best time to post, but I don't think there is. I don't know like if there really is an algorithm or if it even knows what it's really doing.
honestly, I really don't know. And it's like weird how there will be videos that somebody's doing literally nothing in a video and it goes viral, and it's like you'll put so much time and effort into one and it does so bad, and it's like, what the hell?
Do you like those ones where they say it's the audio and it's like post this, use this sound and your video will go viral? Those are always funny.
Oh yeah. I also have seen that. I haven't personally like tried it out, but yeah, I've seen a lot of people post that. Like, oh, if you use this audio, like, you'll blow up.
Those are always funny. So, Mariya, introduce yourself. You're I know you're a model, but what else do you do?
So, yes, hi, I'm Mariya. I am a model, and I do personal designing for clothes. And I also work for a weed company.
What company?
A weed company.
Really?
Cannabis.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I also take pictures of other people and edit them for Instagram, which is kind of funny, like the little influencer, like, side of what I do. And yeah, that's pretty much it right now. And I'm kind of getting into acting a little bit, but I'm just dipping my toes in for now.
Are you originally from California?
No, I'm from like a really small town in upstate New York called Ithaca.
Okay.
Like 30,000 people.
That's pretty big, though.
Yeah. It's big, but it's also a college town. It has Cornell University and Ithaca College. So,
did you move out to California in hopes of doing the Hollywood dream, or is there another reason?
Well, I first moved to Miami during COVID, and particular reason is because I didn't want to get vaccinated, so I went to Florida, especially because New York was super strict on like the rules and everything. So I was in Miami for about 2.5 years, and then last year, which is crazy because now it marks a year that I've been in LA, because last year at Coachella, this girl convinced me to move to LA. So that was a year ago today, or about this week. And so I moved here because like my intuition was just telling me like, oh, like there's more opportunity here for modeling and career sort of thing. But did I come out here being like, oh, I'm gonna move to LA to be the like next star, like everyone thinks? Like, no. I just was like, I think it will provide me more opportunity. So I did move here for that purpose. And yeah.
That's quite the contrast, moving from New York to Florida to back to a similar place like California, right?
Yeah.
Is it better than New York, do you think, as far as like, I guess COVID, like all the lockdowns are now over in California. Is there anything lingering around?
Not really, no, but I would definitely not say that California, in my opinion, is better than New York. For a couple different reasons. Are
you one of those like New York girls that in the first 5 minutes you're gonna tell somebody that you're from New York?
Unless they ask, no.
We always. So I'm from Texas, so you probably make fun of Texas people too. But when I was in college, we always just make fun of the people that were from New York because they would let you know that they're from New York. And it was like, after 9/11, so it was like fresh on everybody's mind.
Yeah.
So were you?
I mean, if like when I've definitely in the past, like if I'm mad, I'll be like, I'm from New York, like like, I'll bring it up then. But like, and be like, I don't know, like you don't fuck with people from New York, like I'll bring it up like that, but never be like, hi, my name's Mariya, I'm from New York, like.
Yeah. So are you liking California? It's been a year. Are you digging it?
No,
No?
I'm gonna be honest, no.
Why not?
I'm here, like I said, for work. So yes, I think it's good for work and for business. And it's pretty. It has like some of its perks, but the homeless population is out of control. It's dangerous. Even living in the safest neighborhood like West Hollywood, there's shootings that literally happened in my building last year that I just found out about yesterday, actually. And they're shooting last week down the street, and like there's just like no like sense of security that I feel of being safe. Um, and then there's also like again, especially because of the type of work that I'm in, there's just a lot of people in the industry that are very egotistical, very driven by clout, by Instagram following, and I just don't really get along with people that are so shallow.
Yeah.
So it's hard for me to connect with people here. And it's just that's like the biggest problem I would say I have here, and the reason I don't really enjoy it that much is because of that reason. Just not trying to find genuine people is just so rare here.
Yeah. No, it's got to be tough. Well, the kind of work you're in, though, I imagine you could do that anywhere, right? You can go back to Florida or anywhere and do that type of work, and because social media allows you to, have that influence and be creative from any location now. So are you thinking about ditching California or what?
So I just got signed to an agency here, and I am going to be working with them. Obviously, for how long, I'm not sure. I'm kind of just going with the flow of things. But like I said, so I gave Miami 2.5 years, right? And so I think LA will be the same type of time because at that point, like I said, a lot of the industry also is like who you know. And if that person knows you, then maybe they'll connect you with this. And I've been having a lot of that. Whereas if I had never moved here, I wouldn't have the connections that I have now, which I am grateful for. And so I'm going to continue on that road of like growing my network here and being able to utilize that to get any type of contracts, modeling gigs, things like that. And like I said, I just got signed, so I'm going to wait to see, what happens with that. And they also can relocate me depending on opportunities that I get. So I'm kind of just going with the flow of things right now.
Yeah. If you had a magic wand, like what would be your wish? Would you rather do the modeling or the acting?
Modeling, because I've been doing modeling longer, so I'm more comfortable in it. Acting is pretty new to me. I've always been told like that I'm funny, but I never really was like into being on stage and like acting in a play or especially not a musical. So I was like, well, I don't really know anything like that. So I'm like going to start with commercials and just like kind of go from there. That's
pretty cool. What type of commercials is it pretty much anything's open right now, or do you have a preference?
I'm pretty open to anything. I did my first real acting thing I got was a music video that I was the only person in the music video acting out a crazy girlfriend that was also an amazing girlfriend, and like crying scenes, happy scenes, dramatic scenes, and I crushed it, and it did really well, and so that was kind of like reassuring just to know that I can do well behind the camera. I'm more into doing comedy, like that's kind of my niche because I'm very expressive on my face, and people always are like, your faces are just so funny that you make. So that's kind of like where I'm going with that.
Do you want to do like what is it called? Not stand up comedy, but where there's no script, like off script. What is that called?
It's called I learned just improv.
Improv, yeah. Do you want to do like improv comedy or what?
I would probably do improv. The only thing is the reason I can't do scripted is because that does not feel natural to me. Like I cannot be funny under a script. I'm
Yeah.
naturally just funny. So I'm just naturally going to talk and say something funny that I think is not funny, but everyone else thinks is funny. That's kind of like how it just happens. So I feel like if I were to do stand up and I like had a a script, I would just be standing there like this isn't even funny. Like I probably forget the lines. Like so I think like yes, doing things that are more in the moment
Yeah.
is like yeah.
No, I think those. I I have like a wild hair. I want to try stand up comedy. I've been saying that for the last year. Not because I think I'm funny, just because I think it would be cool to try it.
Yeah.
But the thought of going on stage is kind of intimidating. But I think it's fun, especially like I feel like comedians are the gateway into how people really feel in America. Like they're able to
Yeah.
say the things that the vast majority of us really feel and really want to say, but sometimes we're afraid to say. You know?
I agree, and that's why I love Dave Chappelle.
Mm,
He is the funniest guy I think I've ever watched because he says what everyone's thinking, or at least what I'm thinking.
yeah.
And that's another part of why I haven't really gotten into comedy because I know there's the excuse of like, oh, you can say what you want, but what I genuinely believe in, the masses don't. Like,
Mm,
it's against, the social cue. So it would be tough to stay in alignment without getting canceled for me, I think. So that's also a reason I'm hesitant. Because if I was to say a lot of things, like, yeah, they would align with Dave Chappelle, but he's been doing this for years. So he has a career made. I can't in this day and age hop out the woodwork and start saying crazy stuff because I'll get canceled.
right.
So it's hard.
Are you worried about being in that network that you kind of have to toe a line and have a common belief? Because there's a common thread, I guess, that most people in Hollywood or most actors believe, right? They only believe a certain aspect, whether it's religious, whether it's political, or whatever. You have to kind of have those same beliefs. Are you kind of worried about that?
Yeah, I'm definitely worried about it. I know that there's a really small percentage of people that think how I think, but again, it doesn't fit the social norms and the social standards of what's normal now.
Hmm.
So I am a little worried just because I don't see eye to eye with the majority of people and therefore getting canceled. So that is definitely a worry that I have. And it's like, okay, well, I can still like work my way around it, but then it still wouldn't be authentic to me
Right.
because I would be changing my viewpoints to fit in. And that's like against my whole entire like
What
being.
What's different in your mind that you believe that you think the vast majorities don't? If you feel comfortable talking about it. If not, we can pass.
I don't support the feminist movement. I think that it should not be 50-50 in a relationship. I think each partner, the man and the woman, have different roles, but they're also very yin and yang. So the female is in her feminine energy and has very specific roles, and the male is in his masculine energy and has very specific roles. I believe that he should be the breadwinner and provide for his family while the wife cooks and cleans and raises the children. That's how I want my marriage to be. That's how I will raise my children, doing it myself by being a stay-at-home mom, cooking and cleaning, and I think that's my role as a woman. Girls nowadays are like, nah, I don't cook, I don't clean 50-50. I don't have rights, blah, blah, blah. Like, women have the same rights as men. There is no uneven like laws nowadays that are unfair to women. Everything is equal. But they've taken this extremist, viewpoint and changed it into, oh well, I don't need a man, I can be independent, blah blah blah. Like, and it's one thing to be independent. Yes, you can be an independent, strong woman, but when you come into a relationship with a man, you have to surrender to his masculine energy. There can't be two masculines because it's going to butt heads, and there can't be two feminines because it's going to butt heads. That's one standpoint that I do. That's my viewpoint on things. Another thing is this is going to be extremely controversial, but I don't 100% support the Black Lives Matter movement. I
Whoa.
support it. And like, let me clarify, right? I support, equal rights for all, but everyone's life does matter. I feel like by saying only Black Lives Matter, that creates a division, and it makes some people more angry, and then some people just feel like they are not important anymore because it's like, oh well, why does only this life matter? I think everyone's life matters, and there isn't, there's always going to be in the back of someone's head like, oh, there's still signs of um what's the word, I
Racism?
forgot, like racism and things like that, right? But why don't we come and unify together and start together becoming one and working on this together instead of saying, oh, well, we need to be divided. We need to do this. We need to do that. Like, if we come into it as a whole and as to work together, I think a lot more can be done than just by separating and conquering by, oh, well, we're going to separate ourselves from this and we're going to do that. Also, there is proven factual documents and evidence that the people that were getting the profits from Black Lives Matter were getting yachts, mansions. Like, there wasn't funding going to the entire
The movement of what it.
the movement,
Yeah.
right? So if that's what you're spending your money on, then that kind of is very hypocritical to the whole entire movement when you're trying to support Black Lives Matter. Like, if this was something that you really want to do, why don't you put that money into funding for cultural schools and education and getting the low income houses renovated, updated? Like, why aren't you actually putting the money towards something that would be like beneficial for Black Lives Matter?
Right.
Like, why are you spending it on yachts and all these, like, richest things? And it's like, it doesn't make sense. So again, it's like, you have a movement that I understand and the basis makes sense of what you're trying to do, but the outcome and the active movement, you're just like not doing anything and the money's going in the wrong places. So I can't support that unless it was going to the right places and they were doing the right things to resolve this problem. So that's just like another thing.
I feel you on that. So, being Hispanic, I get really passionate about diversity and inclusion. I work in a corporate environment, and my company talks about diversity and inclusion. And whenever we do hiring, or I sit on a bunch of interview panels, and I get asked to sit on interview panels because I'm Hispanic, because the interview panel has to be. They have to have a diversity of people on the interview panel. So there'll be a white person, there'll be a lady, and there'll be a typical, maybe another guy, another white guy, and then there's me, the Hispanic, the token minority on the team. And to me, that just doesn't seem authentic. That seems I'm not. Maybe the team really does value my opinion, right? Maybe they really do want to hear what I have to say for hiring this individual that we're interviewing, but the bare bones, when you get down to it, I was asked to be on an interview to check a box. Like, okay, well, was your interview team diverse? Yes, we had John. Okay, well then we're good there. Like, that's just a check the box thing. I think, I think people that want to keep us divided and want to promote, diversity and inclusion, and want to keep perpetuating racism and all that crap, they have a job, and they this is how they get money. This is how they raise funds. This is how they keep their family fed, and they need to do that. But I genuinely feel like in 10, 15, 20 years from now, like people like you were mentioning all these ethnicities and these different bloodlines that you have in you and myself and my kids. My kids are half white, half Hispanic. I don't think they're going to be able to do that in the next 20 to 30 years. They just won't, because everyone is, there's a lot of mixed couples now. And the way that information flows today, it won't allow that, those stories to continue like that. It won't allow divisive information, because the truth is going to come out. And I think at the core of us, we're all really good people. And I think that factor of us all mixing with each other, you got black people with white people and Mexican people with black people, like the racism is just not going to be a good argument or a good foot to stand on anymore.
Right. And again, a lot of these movements, like the feminists, like the Black Lives Matter, like they all have very good original goals and viewpoints that I agree on. But then they take it to this like extreme where then division is created. And it's like it defeats the whole purpose. And I really genuinely think that people aren't aware because, you know, they're in their opinion and they're in their mind that they can't see the bigger picture. Like, wait a second, where is this funding going to? Where should it be going to? What should we be doing that's actually beneficial and doesn't cause more drama, doesn't cause more division? But again, people are ruled by their egos, so they're not going to be, you know, aware of the bigger picture if they're thinking they're always right, or they're always like not reading the factual, you know, information about it. And again, like I said, if the money and the funding was going towards things that were beneficial, like helping people of low income, helping people of color in school and education systems and things like that, that would be one thing. And there's not any like proof that that's where all this money's going. In fact, there's proof of otherwise.
Yeah.
And the same thing with women's rights that they claim that they don't have. You know, like what rights do you not have? And what, you know, the whole abortion thing, I get that like standpoint. But again, where is this funding going to? What is being beneficial for this movement? And that's why it's just like, I think it's a good target, but they just missed the target.
Yeah, no, I agree with what you're saying. And I think what you believe and your stance, I think a lot of other people believe it too. They might be afraid to say it. But I think what you believe and what you said, there's a lot more people out there that believe similarly to the way you believe, especially in the feminist movement too. Can you, it's kind of funny that, I don't know if it's funny, but women work so fucking hard now to raise kids, to have the kids, and now they're working, you know, 80-hour weeks, some of them, and they still end up doing a little bit more of the at-home work. So we've promoted the feminist movement. I heard this great, it was a piece, I think it was a comedian. He was telling a joke about it, but he was like the feminist movement's fucking crazy. Like 20 years ago, women were staying home, taking care of the kids and not stressed out. Now all the women are they're taking anxiety medication. They're killing themselves because of how stressed they are nowadays, because they got to go to school. They got to hold a job. They got to raise the kids. They got to do all this stuff. And it's just it's a different perspective, different way of life than what probably our parents did. But I bet, do you think you believe the way you do in regards to the feminist movement because of how you were raised?
I was actually raised I was adopted, and the lady who adopted me was around, I would say 65. So she was already, like a grandma age, and she was a professor at Cornell, and she was very successful. She was, very independent, and she raised us on her own. But there was like a lot of trauma and abuse in my childhood, so I can't say anything that I learned from my trauma was positive, except the way that I know that I don't want to treat people and working through my trauma and things like that. So I don't think any of my viewpoints are actually based on her, because a lot of the things that, you know, part of the experience that I had growing up, we never saw eye to eye. It's a very extremist on one side of things, and it was always her way, or there was just no like trying to negotiate or compromise on anything. And because she's a professor, she was like, oh, well, I know everything, you know? So I don't think any of my viewpoints are from her or examples of her. And yeah, it was also her choice, obviously, to be a professor. Like, that was her her one passion in life, I could say, and we were kind of just like left to the side. So again, yeah, I don't think any of my viewpoints
Well,
come from her.
did you have another mentor that you could look up to or seek guidance from as you were growing up?
I did. It was actually her younger sister, my aunt Gerald, who lived in Georgia, and her husband, Uncle Michael, and he was a police officer and she was a teacher. And I confided in her a lot. She was like my mother figure growing up. And I would stay with her during the summers. And that's where she taught me a lot about like boundaries, self-respect, speaking up for yourself. Because she knew, what was going on, and she kind of taught me as I got older how to stand up for myself. But that actually ended up backfiring in a lot of ways. And she did this like really like right before I went to college. It was a really messed up situation, and she like completely fucked me over. And I haven't spoken to her since, and I did call her out for the things that she did to me, but she was the closest thing to a mother and like somebody that I confided in a lot until that happened.
Yeah.
And after that, it was just, yeah, nobody else.
So you had a rough childhood. I mean,
Yeah.
you look like you're well put together. How did you just know how to navigate life? Because I would imagine if you had a rough childhood, you were abused. Were you sexually abused?
Not sexually, thank
No.
God, but physically, emotionally, mentally, very bad. Like things that it's very hard for me to talk about sometimes. I have obviously like gotten therapy and gotten help and really healed a lot of wounds. And I'm actually going to be writing a book to expose her
Wow.
because, like I said, she was a tenured professor at Cornell who everyone saw as amazing, but behind closed doors, she was a completely different person. And so no one believed us. And I'm referring to my younger sister and I. And I'm also going to be exposing the people that did know and did nothing about it. Just because I want to inspire people, especially being a good looking, female. Everyone's like, oh, you must have everything handed to you. You probably had a golden life, blah, 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 blah. But I moved out when I was 17. I did go to college and I did do everything on my own. And from that day on that I graduated high school, I've been on my own. And even as a kid, I felt like I was on my own because I didn't have a reliable source of love, of connection, of anything like that. So yeah, I've been on my own. I did everything on my own. And did I have an idea of how to adult or be a good person? It's like I learned that on my own, just by experience of life, And I think propelling myself into moving to Miami really got me to like love myself and become who I am as a person. But because of the things that I went through, I think I matured a lot faster than people my age. So
how old are you? If you don't mind me asking.
I'm
22?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
Dang. Yeah, you carry yourself with a lot of maturity. I'm 34 and I don't carry that myself with that much maturity. So well, it could have went either way with you, right? You could have went to the left or the right, and it sounds like you went the right way and you found that's very inspirational though.
Yeah.
You could have been doing drugs or porn or whatever,
Yeah.
So that's wild.
And it is sad because my younger sister went the other way, and it's always been a really struggle, like very, very hard struggle for me because I always obviously wanted the best for her, and I still want the best for her, always will. But she just doesn't like me. It's like the weirdest relationship, and it has been since we were kids. It was always a love-hate relationship, and it was always very bipolar, and sometimes she would love me, sometimes she would hate me. And like right now, we're months without talking because she just ignores me. She just doesn't want to talk to me. And I think a lot of that comes from resentment of like jealousy or insecurity or comparing herself to me. I don't know. Like it's very hard to say, And she has a baby and she's like in this terrible relationship that's also very abusive, and just she's still in the same hometown, and like it's sad to see, And that's another thing like I've really struggled with, trying to like pull her up with me, but she just doesn't want the help. So that was another really hard thing of like letting that go and still trying to letting her know that I'm there for her, but there's not much I can do, you know?
Is it your blood sister?
So we have different dads, but the same mom.
That's tough. Yeah, you know, she could be, if you've kind of always had your head on your shoulders correctly, it could be you make her feel uncomfortable because of, you know, of how you carry yourself, the goals you have, the aspiration you have. People like that. Do you listen to Jocko Willink?
No.
Okay. Yeah. You gotta, he's, sometimes it's
Wait, let's write that down.
Oh, you're good. Go ahead.
Okay. It's what?
His name's, Jocko Willink.
How do you spell?
Oh God. Let me look it up real quick.
Jocko what? What's the last one?
I'm going to look
Willink?
it up. Willink Jocko. Hold on. So it's just called the Jocko Podcast.
Okay. Is it JACO?
JOCKO.
Okay.
And it's very like motivational, like self-reliant, like holding yourself accountable. And his podcast today actually talked about that was, you know, people that you think are your friends or your family and they don't want to be, or maybe your relationship is strained is because they feel uncomfortable. You're making them uncomfortable around you. So it could be something like that.
I definitely think it's that, especially because as a kid, because I wanted to please the lady who adopted us so much, because I just wanted to be perfect. I had perfect grades. I played sports. I did instruments. I did everything I could to be a well-rounded child, you know, and always achieving perfectionism. Whereas my sister was like, fuck school. She like failed out of school all the time, like did drugs, like just was like the problem child, you know? And I always, again, even growing up, tried to help her then, but it was like she was set on her path and she went that way, and it is what it is. But it hurts because it's like, with the type of person that I am, I have tried everything, and I kept pushing and I kept pushing to help her, and it's hard that your own sister like doesn't even like you for no good reason, even, like, you know. So it's like, it sucks, but it's part of the.
Yeah, if she's still young too, you know, she has some growing up to do. So maybe she'll, you know, wise up in a couple of years, and especially if y'all are sisters. Are y'all the only siblings?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have another sister, different dad again, but she wasn't adopted. She was she's like 12, I think now, and she's still with our birth mom. And we did meet our birth mom probably like 2016, 2017.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I'm not close with her at all.
Dang, that's tough. So you said you went to school. What did you get your degree in?
Criminal law with a minor in business administration and marketing.
Oh, that's cool. I have 2 degrees. One in criminal justice was my first one. I tried to be a state trooper here in Texas, and I, you know, did the physical and all that crap, and then I did the lie detector portion. And one of the questions was, have you ever done illegal drugs? Something like that. And I was like, no. And they kept going back to that question. And it's like the person, the interrogator, whoever was doing it was like, I'm going to need you to be, like, he got like real stern with me. He's like, I'm going to need you to start being honest with me. Like, and I've never, like, I never did drugs until that point. Like I didn't do any. And I, for some reason, couldn't pass that part of the test. So they thought I was lying. So yeah, I didn't become a state trooper. So anyway, I have a criminal justice degree, and then I just finished my industrial engineering degree.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, but I don't want to use any of them. I want to do podcasting and content creation and stuff like that. That's what I like doing.
Yeah. I'm not using mine either, just because the reason I did it was to help kids in foster care and that were adopted and help them, you know, like I was. But then I realized I don't want to be doing paperwork or sitting at a desk, and I feel like I can make more of an impact by writing my book, eventually having a podcast, you know, TikTok, things like that. So.
Yeah. Well, you reach so many people, and you're not like involved in the machine. Like that's kind of what I feel like. Like go to work every day. You're behind the desk. You got to like do the hours. You go to these pointless meetings. You're just part of this machine that keeps going. So,
Yeah.
I looked into. Did you ever look into how education was started in America?
In terms of like Rockefeller,
Yeah.
actually, I did. I heard that. So he said that he wanted to create. He didn't want to create thinkers. He wanted to create workers.
Yeah.
Or and that's like another like viewpoint that I have that a lot of people won't agree on. People call me like a conspiracy theorist, but I think there's a lot of truth to a lot of these conspiracies. And the whole reason why, I would say 80% of the population are slaves to the system, right? They are going to 9 to 5s. They are working to barely afford, food, shelter, anything else, necessities. And then they're basically dying working, and like they'll barely get retirement. And then they just pass it on to their kids. Oh, go to school, go to college, work a 9 to 5, maybe be able to retire, die. Like that's just the whole system. That's what everyone's like trained to do. Be a hamster on the hamster wheel, And I'm like, no, fuck that. Like as soon, and growing up, because education was so important, like I was like a person on the hamster wheel, like, oh, I have to go to school. The only way to be successful is if I get a degree and I become a lawyer. That's the only way. And then I realized that's not the only way. And I don't have to be a mouse on the freaking hamster wheel, and I can think for myself. I can do the research on my own. And I think outside the box, I question the system. I question things. And they don't like that,
Yeah.
So it's like.
How old are you when you started when you came to that realization of like you don't want to be in the box? How old were you when you realized that?
19.
Really? God damn.
Yeah, that was my first year of college.
You're ahead of me and everything. That was probably like 3 years ago when I first realized it. And I was doing the podcast. So I did radio for like 10 years before I moved and doing what I'm doing now. And then a couple of years ago, 3 years ago, we started doing a podcast, and I started talking to, it started off as like all these local business owners. So they would come on and we talk about their business and how they got started. And, the stories would always be the same. Like, I just got tired of my job. I took a leap of faith and then I just started this business. Or I would get off of work and I would come work on my business. And then finally, it always started that way, right? And then finally I was like, good Lord, like all these people they're working their asses off, but they're really happy doing what they really want to do. So it's kind of like that was my awakening, is listening to all these people talk. Like there's this life inside of like the normal conventional way of life of like go to school, get a job, take your kids to daycare, all that crap. But then there's like this other life that you can like tap into. So
I agree. And the one thing I always tell everyone, right, is if you're not doing your passion, you're doing life wrong. Like you should be doing whatever you're passionate about, and the money will come. You can't just be like, oh, well, what's going to make me the most money? And then you're going to be miserable the rest of your life because you chase the money. Whereas if you do what you're passionate about, you're going to love what you do. And if you can do it for free, you might as well get paid. So because I do modeling and trying to get in acting, I'm passionate about that. And I love being behind the camera. I love, exploring all the creative sides of it. So if you're not doing what you're passionate about, you might as well just like not do it.
Yeah.
That's my view.
Well, that's a good way to look at it. Or nowadays with modeling and acting, or even like film or mini film creating, everything can be done on our phones now. And I always think about what it's going to look like in like 10 years. Like I'm filming myself on this like Nikon Z6 II camera. It was a $3,000 camera. But I don't think creators are going to need that in the next 3 or 4 years, because the stuff that we can do on our phones is pretty freaking amazing.
It's insane. And now that AI is a thing, like I think it's technology, I think technology is beneficial, but I also think it's negative. I do wish that I was born in a generation with no technology. And, some people are like, what? That's crazy. But I think it has a lot of negative side effects. especially in relationships, especially with insecurities, especially with, a lot of the problem is people young now feel like they're losers and they're not doing enough because they're not millionaires by the time they're 20.
Hmm.
Like, you still have a childhood left to live, a pre-adult time where you're trying to discover who you are. You don't have to be Forbes 30 under 30, like you can still be on your journey and take your time. But there's just like a lot of downfalls of technology. Yes, there's positive sides of it as well, but I think, Elon Musk said it himself, like he's more afraid of AI than the nuclear bombs that we have, which is skeptical. Like if you really think about that, that's pretty scary. So
Yeah, he said he's worried that we're not approaching it with enough caution or something like that, right?
yeah, and they're just trying to talk about having, instead of having soldiers or police officers, having robots. Oh well, that's such a great idea because then they're just going to shoot everybody they see in sight and have no moral compass. Like that's just.
Did we not all watch iRobot?
Yeah, I watched that.
Oh,
I watched all those, like, I think also movies have some truth to it, like, and get you like accustomed to stuff before we really drop it out on you, and having robots like go around and kill everyone, like I definitely think that's in the future. I don't know if it's in the near future. I hope to God it's not, but it's scary to think about.
have you messed with ChatGPT or Bard, the Google version of ChatGPT?
So my friend showed me that a couple months ago, I would say, and I was like, "What is that?" Like I didn't even know what an AI was, and then he like showed me how you can like type anything in, like type this paper and it'll type something, or give me ideas for this and it'll do this, and I'm like, "Where was this when I had college? Like you could have cheated on everything."
I
Like,
know, I know. There's a lot of people.
so
There's a lot of people using it for work emails now. Like
yeah.
they want to reply back to it, so they'll copy and paste. Like, how would you reply back to this email? I know people at work that are using it for work emails, which is fucking crazy.
But now it's like, okay, we're already lazy as it is, and now you guys are becoming even more lazy, and computers are completely taking over. Next thing you know it, you're gonna think a thought, and the computer's gonna type it out for you. Like,
Well,
it's
that's coming,
crazy.
right? That's what Elon Musk is
Yeah,
working on.
yeah, it's terrifying.
What is that called that he's working on? The neuro plant, is that or neuro?
Is it the thing you're talking about, consciousness?
I don't know.
That
It's first going to be used for people with paralysis, and who can't use certain parts of their brain to move bodies, certain parts of their body. But I think um, he said that it's gonna, like, you're gonna be able to hear people's thoughts eventually. Have you heard that?
I haven't heard that. I heard where it's going to have a chip that's in the back of your neck that takes your consciousness, and you can take it out when you die. Your physical body dies
Yeah,
and transfer it to another body, and you just live forever. I'm like,
I
what?
heard that too. Yeah. Well,
That shit is crazy.
so you said that some of your friends consider you a conspiracy theorist. What is one of the most well-known conspiracy theorists that or theories that you believe in?
Well, I think that there are aliens.
Yeah,
I think there are. Well, think about it,
there's
right?
got to be,
We're
right?
Earth, huh?
I said there's got to be, right?
Yeah, we're Earth, right? Tiny little, not even a speck. I think I just pulled my eyelash. Sorry.
Okay.
A little speck in the universe, right? There has to be millions, if not other, planets, living beings. Maybe they don't look like us, but there have to be some sort of other living existence out there. Now, do I think aliens are like on planet Earth? Possibly. Are they flying around in UFOs like they say? Like, I don't know, maybe. But do I think they exist? Yes. Why do I think this? Why am I so confident? I'm gonna sound crazy, but I have interacted with an alien, and it sounds crazy. It sounds crazy, but I have. And it was the most absurd. And I wasn't on drugs. You know, most people will be like, oh, well, you were probably on drugs. Like, no, I was sober. And it happened. And it was a crazy experience, but that's kind of got how I got my confirmation. Like, they exist.
So what do you mean you interacted with one?
So I was in Miami. And at the time, I was kind of like just chilling on my bed. And I remember asking I believe in the universe, right? God is the universe. We are all one. And I remember looking out my window and I'm like, oh, well, I'm open to the idea that aliens exist, but I'm the type of person that I need to see it to believe it, right? And I just kept saying, like, oh, I'm going to be open to the idea. If they do exist, and if they don't, then that's okay. That's cool too. And I remember sitting on my bed, and my friend was there with me, and he went out into the kitchen to go get something. I kid you not. Next thing I know it, this little like creature was standing at the foot of my bed. And I was just like staring at him, and he telepathically communicated to me. Like his mouth was not moving, my mouth was not moving. But he asked me, he was like, "Hi, how are you?" And I was like, "What the like? What are you? Like, what is going on?" You know, I was like trying not to panic, but I also kind of felt calm. Like it was a very like calm feeling or presence, I guess you could say. And he was like, "I just want to experience a human body." Just for like a second. And I was
Oh.
like, okay. He was like, can I have permission to go into your body? I was like, okay, mind you, I have no mental, like, I don't have schizophrenia. I don't have mental disorders. I should clarify that. But I was like, okay. So he went into my body, and it was like my consciousness left my body. I don't know where it went, but his came into my body, and I took on who he was. Like it, I don't even know how to explain it. Like he came into me, and all of a sudden I saw through his eyes, and my finger, like I like he did this whole thing, like stretched out his fingers. He was looking at his hands, and they were long, and they were like kind of like the Grinch, like long and pointy, and he was just kind of like fascinated, and he was doing all these like movements like this, like touching himself, my face, but like again, it's him and me, and he was like, wow, and he had like I could feel how the difference of the eyes and everything. It was crazy, and he was like, wow, this is amazing. And then my guy friend walked in the door, and immediately it was gone, and I was just standing there frozen, and he was like, you look like you just saw a ghost. And I was like, yo, you're not going to believe what just happened. And he did not believe me. But it was insane. And like, it was really cool. But at the same time, so strange, you know?
So your body changed? Like you could see the hands that were your hands were different?
Yes. Like, it was physically different. And I could even feel how my face might have looked different. I wasn't like in front of a mirror or anything, so I couldn't see that, but I could see my hands, and I could feel how different my face felt. And his voice was like, so you know, sometimes when you think thoughts in your head, it was his thoughts and his own voice, and it sounded so weird, and like it was so interesting. And every time I tell people that, they like don't believe me.
So did it scare you? I mean, how did you feel afterwards?
After I was kind of like, I want more. I was kind of like, I want to experience more of this, kind of like I was kind of addicted to the feeling of such a crazy experience that I was like, I want to see more. Like, what is there? There has to be more to this, you know. After that, I never had an experience like that again, but I'd
No,
be down.
normally, when people talk about experiences that they had, they're kind of scared or frightened because they
No, but
feel
see,
like they've
that's
been
like
violated or something.
I was like at first when he showed up at my bed, I was like, what is that? Like I was kind of like, what? And then, but again, his presence was so calming. So I wasn't scared. And again, I had to have given him permission to do that. If I said no, then that situation would have never happened. But I did give him permission. And like I said, I don't know where my brain went because it wasn't my brain. It was like somebody else's. It was like his and me. It was so hard to explain.
So
But
what did this
yeah.
this alien look like?
He was very short. He was darkish brown, I would say. Like he kind of looked like the dirt color, but with like green tint to it, kind of. He did have very like big eyes, but they were black. And he had a mouth, but it was small. And like I said, the mouth didn't move. So it was kind of just like he was just like so staring at me, but talking to me in my head. And like I was talking back to him in my head. And another thing is he was telling me, because I was like, what language are you speaking? I asked him that. And he was like, it's the universal language. And he said that if you knew that humans, if they were raising, like if they were at a high vibration and they were all connected as one, we could do this together to each other, just like he can. And I was like, what? Like, that's crazy. And he's like, yeah, there would be no need for languages which cause division. He said there would be a unified language of this, which we're doing right now, which is mind to mind. But humans are so far behind, they won't get there, you know? At least not for a long time, he said. And I was like, that's so crazy.
I believe you. First off, like I'm saying this is crazy, but I don't mean you're crazy. But how long did this experience last?
I would say it was like 5 minutes. It was so short. That's why I was like, it was such a crazy feeling only to be like gone. And I really think it was because my guy friend came into the door. If he had maybe waited out in the kitchen longer or done whatever he was doing longer, maybe it would have lasted longer. But yeah, as soon as he walked in, it was literally instantly gone. And I was just like, wait.
That's insane. So nothing happened strange, like any similar situations before this?
No.
No?
And again, people are like, are you sure you weren't on drugs? Are you sure you don't have a mental, condition? I'm like, no.
Did you fall asleep? Could you have been falling asleep?
I was wide awake. I was sitting up. I was wide awake, watching TV. And like I said, me and my friend were like just chilling, like having conversation. We were both wide awake and it wasn't late at all. It was probably like 6, 7 p.m.
Dang. But it didn't freak you out at all, huh?
No. I mean, again, initially, like seeing him, I was like, what the fuck? But then again, such a calming presence. I did not feel scared. I didn't feel like I was in danger. He did say he was one of the nice ones, which makes me think that there are extraterrestrials out there that are, bad or not with the best intention. But yeah, he was just really sweet little dude. And I don't know if it was a guy or a girl. There was no gender. That was another thing.
There was no gender?
I assumed he was a guy.
There was no gender?
No gender, no private parts. Like, it was kind of interesting.
That's
and
wild.
The voice was very neutral. Like, it could have been a deep girl voice or a high guy voice, if that makes sense.
Oh my God. That's so scary. Yeah. I would have pissed my pants. I would have been scared.
Well, I don't know. I was just like, again, like I feel like I could have been terrified and like freaked out, but it was just something so calm about it.
Any other crazy experiences like that? Not necessarily with aliens, but any cool ones like that?
Yeah, like I've had experiences where I've had dreams and they came true. I've had deja vu to the point where, for example, I'll think a thought and then 2 seconds later it happens, but I'm awake, I'm conscious. When I meet somebody, I have very good intuition, so I can tell if they're a good person, if they're a bad person. I've also, crazy enough, been able to kind of like predict, I guess, but I have a knowing of how somebody, or specifically who, is gonna fuck me over. So I've met girls that instantly, when I met them, I was like, they're a bitch, they're gonna do something bad. But then I become friends with them, and then later down the road, they do me dirty. And I was like, well, if I listened to my first initial thought, this would not have happened. Same with guys. I knew every single, the 3 guys that I was with, I knew that each and every single one of them was cheating on me, and I knew the girls' faces before I knew. Like,
really?
It was crazy. Yeah. One example is, right, so this was a guy I wasn't dating, but I was planning on dating, and we were talking for a while, and he had made us exclusive, and I was like very skeptical, and I was like, "Are you sure you're not sleeping with anyone? You're not seeing anyone?" And he was like, "No." So I was like, "Okay." The first time and the only time we had sex. While we were having sex, I closed my eyes, and somehow there was a visualization of a girl, blonde hair, blue eyes, freckles right here, and I was like, "What the fuck?" I was like, "Okay, that's kind of weird." And I didn't think much of it. I was like, maybe I'm tripping. I don't know. And then again, I asked him, like, "Are you sure we're exclusive?" And he said, "Yes." That following, like 2 days later, that following week, I literally saw him post on Instagram his girlfriend who had blonde hair, blue eyes, and freckles right here. And I knew, I was like, that's the girl I saw in my head. And that I had asked him, "Are we exclusive?" But he had a whole girlfriend. And I'm like, what the fuck?
Hold on, so
obviously I blocked him.
He posted, so there wasn't any other like post with a girl on his Instagram? No?
None.
Holy shit.
And trust me, I fact checked. I really wanted to make sure. But again,
damn.
he posted like 3 years together, like on his story, and I was like, wow.
Did you let her know what happened?
I messaged her. She never opened it. I don't know if he deleted it or she just never saw it. But that was just it. And I blocked him. Never saw him again.
Dang. That's crazy. Well, Mariya, it's been really fun talking to you. It's been actually really, really fun talking to you. You're a very interesting person, and I love the vibes and energy that I'm getting from you. How can people follow along on your social media?
So my Instagram is Mariya_MILLAN. And then my TikTok is MARIYA_ALLEN.
Awesome. So how do you pronounce your last name again?
So I have two.
Okay.
Well, my whole name is Mariya Milan Allen Valez.
Okay. You have a really cool name.
Thank you.
My name is John Alba. Just boring as fuck.
John Alba.
Just boring as fuck.
Sounds like a movie character.
It should be. Well, I appreciate your time. It was fun talking to you, and I'll link all your social media in the podcast show notes, and I'll let you know when this thing comes out.
Thank you. And it was really fun. Great vibes, like you said. And I appreciate everything, the good conversation, and we should do this again.
Absolutely. I'm excited for you, and I wish you success. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll see you later. Bye.
Bye.